think we're on. Are we on? Are we on? I think we are. I think, yes, we are. We're on. Good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. It is the 16th of November. I'm saying it hesitantly, but I think I'm right. It's the 16th of November, 2023. Do you know, it's so weird because I remember, every year when you have to, you writing out your checks or you're doing your calendar and all of a sudden you're looking at what am I writing and it's 23, and not to rush our life along in any particular way, but it's only about, what is it, 4 or 5 weeks to Christmas, and before you know it we were writing 2024, and that that makes me think, time is passing so fast, and we all know that it passes fast. Time is passing so fast. So, isn't it time? And of course, next week is Thanksgiving. Isn't it time for us to start and think about connecting with all our old friends, with all of those people we haven't seen for a while? Isn't it time for us to, even if we send an email, or I hate that, don't you hate that? No cards anymore, no letters anymore. I actually had a letter in the mail yesterday. I've not opened it yet, but it's a personal letter, and wow, who sends personal letters anymore? Nobody. We do it all by email, and we're so far removed from connecting as we used to have to do. Anyway, mutter mutter. I think I've given everybody enough time now to sort of click on and so on. So before we begin the show proper, first of all, excuse me, I'd like to say good morning to my spirit guide, Grey Eagle, and who's standing to my right side, as he always is, always is. Am I grateful for that? You betcha. I'd like to say good morning to our lovely facilitator, Chris. And of course, I would like to say good morning to all of you out there. Chris, do we have any? Is there any? Wait. Is there anybody there?
Good morning, Rosemary. Good morning, everyone. Yes, we have people logging in, but interestingly enough, Rosemary, they're kind of quiet.
Why? What's going on? You mean they're logging in, but there are no questions yet? There's nothing going on? We have to change that, as you know. You participate, or when I'm not playing. I've always been a great one for participating. When we have live audiences, do you remember those days of live audiences? They are coming back slowly, but I remember I would sort of, the curtains would open, there I would be on the stage, and the very first thing I wanted to do, short of say hi everybody, was to get off the stage and get in amongst the audience, and that was I guess it became my signature, because, I just want to be amongst people. I want to hold people's hands. I want to, when I'm talking to somebody and giving them a message, I want to look them in the eye. I don't want to look at them from a great expanse. Sometimes you have to do that. Sometimes the theatre is such that you don't have a choice of getting down there and getting in amongst the audience. But if I can, I will. And it's odd when we do this remote stuff that I can't get down there and in amongst you and say to you, come on, if you're participating, I'm happy to entertain you. I'm happy to I'm happy to talk about my work. I'm happy to talk about anything and everything, and that you would like me to talk about. But I really would like participation. I really would like, not just for me to hold your hand, I'd like you to hold my hand as well. So if you have a question, get going. Don't be quiet. Don't be silent. Otherwise, we'll think, okay, well, you've had enough of me, and that's the end of that. So we'll quit early. Don't make me quit early. Please don't make me quit early. I do know, though, that even though, Chris, you've said it's silent out there, I know for a fact that Gary is out there. Good morning, sweetie pie. And hello. It's like, it's it's improving somewhat. Um, Unfortunately, though, I will have to have surgery. We're 90% certain that I'm going to have surgery and have the bone taken out of my. You don't want the gruesome details. Let's not worry about those gruesome details. But I will have to probably have surgery on my thumb. It was so frustrating to me. Let me tell you. Now the secret is out. I have kept this secret from my daughter and most especially my grandson because I wanted to surprise him. He usually comes sort of around February, March. I know it sounds like a long way away, but the secret is that, are you ready? Are you all ready? The secret is, and my daughter found me out because she knows me so well. The secret is I bought a piano. Now, I haven't had a piano in years. I've had keyboards. I had a baby grand piano when I was in Vermont, and I left it behind stupidly because I thinking, oh well, gone are those days. Little did I know that my grandson was going to be a prodigy. We found out 2 or 3 weeks ago that we now refer to him as a prodigy, which is not necessarily a good thing. We have to be very careful not to put that, what's it called, that pressure onto him. I might find a little bit, in fact, I have it on my phone. I might find just a little bit to play to you. In fact, I'm looking as I'm going on. Joan, thought about this recently, but I want to give you just a little taste. Where am I? I want to give you a little taste of his new piece, and of course, naturally, how amazing he is. So I'm getting it ready for you, and I know you would love to hear him play. So, any minute now. Would you like to hear him play? Maybe I'll wait for a minute because he's amazing. He's amazing. Anyway, I bought a piano so that because when he came down the last time, I had to buy or rent a keyboard. The keyboard I had was useless, and I gave it away. Right, I'm just putting that on pause for a second. So my keyboard was really not good. He couldn't use it. It was a small keyboard, had an octave less on the keyboard. So I rented him a keyboard, which was okay, and he was able to practice. But now, I bought a piano for two reasons. I bought a piano really for him so that he has a piano when he's here. But also, I bought a piano so that I can exercise my hands. So yesterday I'm sitting at the piano. Well, actually, over the last few weeks, I've been sitting at my piano. I can say my piano now because it's in my house. It's really our piano for Reese and I. Oh, it's awful because I couldn't stretch, and it's good for the fingers because it helps me move the fingers. But when it came to stretches and chords and so on, it was so frustrating. I should never, obviously, be able to play the way I used to do, but my grandson makes up for that. So while you're all getting your questions together, while you're listening to me, getting your questions together, I'm going to let me know, Chris, if you cannot hear and see this, because I need to put the camera. Where am I putting the camera? Is that where it is?
Yeah, that works, Rosemary.
Okay, so let me play this and let me know if you cannot hear it. Watch his fingers, guys, when you see him over the keys. Wait a minute.
We can hear.
Can you see?
Yes.
So he's 10 years old, this kid. Just saying. I'm not going to play too much. Just giving you a little taste. Sorry, I'm moving about. I can't keep my hands still. You didn't expect a piano recital, did you guys, this morning? Okay.
Boy, if that doesn't bring a smile to your face, I don't know what does.
I cannot hold my hand up any longer, but I thought you would all like to hear that and share with me. So anyway, so I secretly, without telling my daughter, without actually telling anyone at all, I bought a piano. And it's good for my practice, but Reese is ecstatic because I've told him it's his too. So now he has two pianos. Anyway, so, all right. So I've done my bit and I've entertained you, and I've entertained you with my grandson. And so, anyway, so, right, Chris, any questions? You better not be silent, guys. I shared a huge part of my life with you here. So, come on.
All right. Well, if we're starting from the top, a couple of comments. Kay's on from England, and as you said, Gary's on. Starla Tech saying good morning from San Francisco. Microphone Mike says, hello, Rosemary. It's been a long time since I've seen you, and I'm glad you are back.
Microphone Mike. You have to remind me. You've got to give me a bit more than that. But I'm really glad you're back, and I'm really glad I hope you're enjoying the show.
Angelique saying good morning. Serenella saying good evening. Please speak about my child Luana with Huntington, and she's from Italy.
Okay. Keep going, Chris.
Let's see. Jim Ocean says, I'm redoing my old barn. Do you see it doing something with it, or is it a waste to do too much?
Oh, Jim, go for it. It's a project. You love projects anyway. I would advise not spending a huge amount of money, but, you know, go for it is what I would say. Okay, keep going, Chris.
Lexi saying hello. Lewis is on from Arizona saying good morning and blessings.
Good morning, good morning, good morning.
Maggie's here saying good morning. I hope all is well. I'm listening in at work and had to run out to my phone to tell you I'm here.
Oh, great. Oh, thanks, Maggie.
Rhonda's on saying good morning. Annika says, my mom may move into the nursing home much sooner than we thought.
Good.
Upon the news from my brother, I oddly felt like it's already saying goodbye. When I fly home, I no longer will be able to go home.
Well, I think, I was just talking to Chris about this just before we came on the show. Changes happen to all of us, and we have to adjust and we have to readjust. But I don't think you can ever go back and expect it to be the same. And those people who, want to go back to how it used to be, and they have all those wonderful memories. If you expect that, you're going to be disappointed. I think that home is where your heart is, and I think your heart is not in a building or a place. I think your home and your heart are with your mother wherever she is, and with your family wherever they are. So try not to be, I can see where you're coming from, but life changes. And it's funny, isn't it? We leave our parents, we leave their home, we all of that stuff. We don't probably think twice about it when we do it. I remember when Samantha finally left home, so to speak, for good, and only came back for visits. It felt, the empty. I had the empty nest syndrome and all the rest of it. But it's a positive thing in such a good way. It's a positive thing. And now when she comes here to visit me, she doesn't come home. She comes home. She comes to me. She comes home to me. But the house is different. It's certainly not where she grew up, and it's not where she has any particular memories. But she comes home to me, and so when I go to visit her in New York, I'm coming home. I'm coming home to my daughter, and I'm coming home to my darling grandson. And so that's home to me. It's not about the building, it's about the people. And if you can, try and hold on to that, my love. Keep
All
going.
right. Leslie's saying hello. She lives in Arizona and wants to know, did Gray Eagle live near the superstitions?
He lived in amongst the superstitions. You haven't read my book, have you, Proud Spirit? You need to get going on that one. In fact, you'll recognize it, because there I am sitting, I think, at the base of the superstitions. And I've been into the superstitions, I've walked into the superstitions, and I've had the most amazing experience in the superstitions. I remember once I went there with my editor, and we were walking in there, walking up, because it's probably not at all like it used to be when I first went there, because there were bans on building houses too close and so on. And I know that's not the case now. And I know that the Apache Trail, as it once was when I first went through the Apache Trail and the Superstition Mountains, was as it used to be before all of those builders and excavators got in to make money and create, because it is a beautiful place. They create they use the lakes, and now there's speedboats and hotels and what have you. And when I went to the superstitions the very first time, I went with my agent Joni Evans, and it was I don't know if anyone's ever seen that movie Thelma and Louise, where you've got these two women. They finally decide they've done so many bad things, it's never going to get any better for them, and they decide to just drive off of the mountain and into the abyss, which is how they end their life. But we didn't do that. But there were times, and I was driving and I loved it. There were times when my agent really thought that I was driving into the abyss. I can remember coming off it's a very narrow road, not even a road, just a pathway, a sheer drop to one side and mountains on the other side. And of course, every now and again, you'd have a rock fall or something, whatever. But I remember coming to, they call it Apache Lake. And you had to come off of the road, and you had to swerve down onto this dirt track. And I had we were in a convertible, and we sort of got onto this dirt road, which literally was that steep. It just went down, 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 and then it curved around, and then it kept going down until we actually got to the lake. And there was nobody there, because nobody, it hadn't been commercialized. It was off the beaten track. I remember walking into the lake and feeling, oh my goodness, this is where Grey Eagle lived, where he was, and it was amazing. And my poor agent at the time, now we have to get back up, right? And she, we were in a Ford Mustang. Those cars are amazing, absolutely amazing cars. And we had to now get back up. And she's looking at me. Her face is sheer white. And she thinks we're never, ever going to get back up. And there's nobody around. It's isolated. So nobody knows where we are. There's no phone signals or anything like that around there at that time. And I just said, don't worry, because Greg was here and he's going to help us. And he did. And we got right back up. I won't say it was easy. We had to push the car a little. But, oh gosh, did we have the best experience there. And they were all of these huge hawks that kept coming around us, and eagles flying above us. And then we had the ground eagles. And you're from Arizona, so you know what I'm talking about when I say the ground eagles. Anyway, what was the question?
Literally, did Grey Eagle live near the superstitions?
Oh, in the superstitions, not near them, in them. And you know, also, the Apache were the very last of the Native American tribes to give in to the, you know, the authority at the time, which was, you know, the white man, the white governments, and so on, all trying to rob them of their lands, which they did. But the superstitions, I mean, they go on. They're huge. If you don't know anything about them, I would advise, you know, go on YouTube and see if you can find where they are, because boy, oh boy, you can totally get lost in there. People used to go mining for gold. There's stories of hidden treasures. But the Apache, when they were fighting, that the superstitions was their last, let's say, their last holdout. And they would hide the women and the children in the Superstition Mountains. They would hide them in there to protect them, and they themselves would hide in there, but they'd come out to fight, and then they'd go back in, and so on. The Superstition Mountains are very important to the Apache, and therefore they're very important to me too. So, you know, if you live anywhere by, I've been back a few times, but the last time I went back, I said I wouldn't really go again, because boy, oh boy, have they totally ruined what was a beautiful and incredible place. They call it progress, but really it's not progress. It's just plain greed. Anyway, Chris, next, keep going.
All right. Karen from Canada's on. Terry, Thanos from Greece, Angie from, well, it doesn't say where from, but saying, hello, I'm so excited to have found you online, and I'm a huge fan.
Oh, thank you. Well, we're here every week. I know that I've been, hold up the little injured hand here. I'm like a little bird with an injured wing, aren't I? But you know, we have had to pause for that. And I'm so grateful to everybody for hanging in there and staying with me. I'm so grateful to all of you who've been sending your healing prayers and your love and all of that stuff. And, you know, I just think it's, I'm so pleased that people are finding me, and here I am. And as far as I'm aware, I'm not going anywhere. Which reminds me, I know that in America, next Thursday is big day in America, because it's the American Thanksgiving. I think it has somewhat to do with the Native Americans, thanking them for, you know, we stole your land, but thank you anyway. Sorry, I'm not, you know, I know that Thanksgiving is a big deal for people in America, and I know that the people who are living today are not responsible for the history of how the Native American culture was ravished, and it was almost, you know, the government tried to eliminate them. And, you know, when I when I was growing up, we always used to have, we used to go to what was called the flea pit. And the flea pit was the local cinema. And we go on a Saturday afternoon. It was another way of my mother getting rid of us for a couple of hours. And we go to the flea pit. And very often there would be, it was all kids. And it would be, cowboys and Indians. We're not allowed to call them Indians anymore, are we? We have to call them Native Americans. Cowboys and Indians, and that was the movie, and the John Waynes and all of those people who, and it always, those movies always seem to show the Indians. I'm going to call them what they were in those days, and I don't think any Native American would be offended by being called an Indian, because why would I be offended being called white or British or whatever. Anyway, but there we are. So in those days, you watch the movies, and the Indians were always the bad guys. And so, you'd see Tonto and his trusty steed and all of that. You see all these movies, and all the kids would be cheering for the cowboys and booing at the Indians. And I would be sitting there cheering for the Indians and booing the cowboys. Not necessarily openly, but I always felt there was some sort of injustice in there somewhere. So I could never really sort of get behind the cowboys who were eliminating the Indians. But the truth of the matter is that that's how it was. And there was an awful lot of brutality. The first real experience, it's sort of the first movie, I think, that I know and that I remember was a movie called Soldier Blue. And I actually saw the uncut version. I don't think you can get it anymore, because nobody really wants to see what really happened. It's like watching the war movies, and you see people in the camps and the atrocities that went on there. Nobody really quite wants to see that. And but American soldiers in those days were encouraged, and in fact lived in fear of not doing things that the particular colonel in the movie, I'm not going to say who it was, but that particular colonel was in fact later tried for war crimes. Brutal massacres. And the story is about Soldier Blue, who was one of those soldiers who stood up and said, no, this is appalling. We don't treat people this way. And he ended up in chains with the other soldiers who also said, no, this isn't right. Anyway, where am I going with this? So Soldier Blue was my first actual my first actual real look at the realities of life. And Samantha was a baby, so she's 50 something. So we're going back all those years. She's 52. And so all of those years ago, she was a baby. And I can remember we went in my car. There was three other girlfriends and I, we went to see the movie. We drove home, and I dropped everyone off, and there was not a word spoken between us. We were so shocked and so appalled at what we had seen. But I'm really glad that we've seen it since that time. That movie has been, cut, and all the gruesome bits have probably been taken out. I don't know if you can still get it even. But when we come face to face with history, it's like in England, we have awful history in England, and the things that we used to do, and putting people on the rack and so on and so forth. And we know that we're not responsible for it, but yet knowing that, we tend to think that torture happens, but not in our country, and we don't do that, and so on. But the truth of the matter is that in the past it's been done. But we have to remember the past in order to sort of move on with the future. And we have to acknowledge that as a nation or nations around the world, none of us is perfect. We've all done atrocious things. It's not about what we did then or what those people in the past did then. It's about how we live our lives now and how we remember. And I think that Thanksgiving is coming up, and I think it's great that the idea of having a stranger to your table, the idea of family, the idea of celebrating freedom as much as anything else, but also remembering. It's odd because I think I said this same thing when we talked about last week was November 11th, and of course my father, I told you my father was in the army, and we remember the soldiers and we remember the lives that were given up. We remember the heroes, the people who fought so that we could have our freedom. And during those wars, we know full well there were atrocities done then, and we of course we know about the prison camps and all the rest of it. But I think it's important to remember that these are the things that we did. And if we recognize that, and we recognize those fantastic people who were our heroes, and Thanksgiving, I think, is the same thing, because I think the Native Americans can certainly be our heroes in some ways. And the people who stood up for freedom and for justice and for things that were right and good and proper, they are our heroes. And so we shall be here next Thursday talking about Thanksgiving. And maybe, just maybe, on Thanksgiving, maybe Gregor might want to tell us a story. Yes, he might want to do that. So maybe that's what we'll do Thanksgiving, which is next Thursday in America, but the rest of the world doesn't necessarily. I don't celebrate Thanksgiving. I'm British. Why would I celebrate Thanksgiving? It's, but good food, being with good friends, and maybe again I'll say to you, maybe Greg will tell us a story. I wonder what he'll tell us about. Ooh, I'm excited now because I didn't know I was going to say that to you until just this second. Chris, who else is on? What else have we got there going on?
We've caught up to the portion where people have written in their comments about Reese's playing. So Maggie's saying, "Yay, Reese." Karen saying, "Oh, wow, I'm so excited for you. It will be excellent for you to exercise your hands." Annika says, "There's nothing like a real piano. I have a piano which sounds and plays so different from an electric piano I
Oh,
also have."
yeah, no, I'd rather not do the electric. I'd rather not go there.
Let's see. Lexi says, "That's beautiful." Gary says, "Blown away." Rhonda says, "Oh my, such fluid movement of the fingers. He's amazing."
I know. You can keep. He's my grandson.
Oh,
I like.
there's more. There's more, Rosemary.
Oh, go ahead, go ahead.
Kay says, "Look at his fluid wrists. He's amazing and really beautiful." Carla says, "Fantastic." Um, Gary's remarking on no music sheets.
No.
Cheryl says, "Wow, he's so good." Lewis saying, "Wow, he's wonderful." Barb saying, "Absolutely wonderful." Karen saying, "So phenomenal and beautiful. I am always amazed at how much emotion and how fast Reese's fingers move." And that's where we end about Reese. There was one question, Rosemary, about Apache, because a couple of shows ago, Apache had gotten into rat poisoning. So they're asking, how is Apache, Reese's dog?
Oh, isn't it funny? We've just been talking about the Apache and the Superstition Mountains. He's great. He's doing really, really well. He and Reese are inseparable. It's so funny because at bedtime, it sort of gets to, Reese's bedtime, and it's as if, well, I'm sure, which I'm sure does, when Reese he starts to get his PJs on and he's cleaning his teeth and he's had his shower and so on and so forth, and you look for Patty, who is already now on the bed because he sleeps with Reese in Reese's bed, on Reese's bed. So Apache knows here is the ritual, okay, bedtime. And more often than not, Apache is on the bed. We don't even have to say, Reese doesn't even have to say, okay, it's bedtime, come on. He doesn't even have to say that. Apache's there. Reese snuggles into bed. Apache snuggles right into his body, as close to him as he could possibly get. Um, he's really doing great. The blood test came back fine. It was a little bit of a scary close call, I have to say, but yeah, he's doing really well. And thank you all for asking. The Apache are strong. They're really, really strong. And so he's only teeny, this little puppy, so tiny, teeny, but he's very tough. So we're glad he's part of our family. Reese was telling me just the other day, because I was saying to Reese, we're getting very close to Christmas now. And he said, I said to him, what do you want? And he said, well, he said, what does Apache want as well? Because, this is this will be his second Christmas with Reese. When it was first Christmas, he was only a couple of weeks old or something. So, so this is his second Christmas, and Reese, it's important to Reese that it's not just about him, it's about Apache as well, because, well, what can I tell you? Anyway, it's all about that they are inseparable, these guys, which is just lovely to see. And I'll tell you this, and I feel I have to say, which is not very nice of me. Here you go. I'm going to show you a naughty side of me now. So a few weeks ago, Reese said to me, he said, Mosey, he said, I was telling Mummy yesterday, he said, I have two favorite possessions in my life. And I thought he was going to say Apache and his mum, right? So he said, Apache is my number one favorite possession, but my close second favorite possession is my piano. And here's the awful bit. I started chuckling to myself, thinking, way to go, grandmother, because I got him the dog and I got him the piano. So I think as a grandmother, I'm doing pretty good so far. I'm scoring high points so far. Okay, Chris.
All right, we move on to Starla Tech, who has a little bit of a long question. Hello, Rosemary, and thank you, and Gray Eagle. I apologize if this is long, but I have been fighting for the return of my child, which was entirely started by lies and continued by lies 4 years later, fighting the corruption for which I am completely innocent of. My heart in despair and lost complete faith in the justice system. Anyhow, do you see anything positive soon? Anything which could turn this around, or any guidance, good or bad? I greatly appreciate and thank you.
Well, um, first of all, my darling, I have to say that, there are so many people who don't deserve to have children. We know that they are, they mistreat their children, even if it's just simple neglect, or they do worse than neglect. And I'm listening to your story, and you'll forgive me, but I have to ask the question: is this true? Is this a real injustice? Um, you know, do you uh, deserve to have your child back? I'm, I'm asking Gregor all of these things as I'm listening to this question, because that's my job, and it's not a question of judging you or judging anyone in this situation. It's a question of assessing the situation so that I can answer you in the right way and in a way that is helpful to you. However, my spirit guide, it seems to be on board with you. So he is saying to you, as hard as it is and as difficult as it is, and you must be exhausted, aside from the heartache and the pain that you are going through, he tells me to tell you, keep fighting. Keep fighting. I think if you keep fighting and if you stand your ground, those who seem to be against you, there are some obnoxious people, it seems, on the other side of this situation. Um, but I think that if you keep fighting, I think eventually you'll see a little crack of daylight and then an even bigger crack of daylight. So, darling, keep fighting. And please keep us posted. I'm going to send you healing and lots of energy. So please keep us posted as to how this situation plays out. Chris.
All right. Microphone Mike is our Michael. He was one of your bottom brickers. So
I thought so.
He's changed his name on YouTube. So Michael says, I was in a shopping center and a homeless lady walked up to me and said, "What was going on in your life in 1993?"
Ooh.
Then she said, "I was in the 10th grade that year." And Michael responded, "1993 is the year my mother died."
Wow. Michael. Oh my. Didn't you feel good? That was great. Thank you for sharing that. Isn't that wonderful? So maybe she looked like a homeless person, but maybe she was your angel. Come to give you hope, come to give you, because you do doubt yourself, don't you, from time to time? And maybe she was saying to you, don't doubt, you know, your mother's here with you. Don't doubt, I'm your angel. So, when I always think this, and I see it often. We talk about earth angels, and there are many earth angels around. But I think our angels, from time to time, they come to us. You know, our earth angel could be that. I've said this before. There could be that smelly old man sitting on the bus next to you, who just gives you that look, gives you that smile, just gives you that small indication. And if you're paying attention, you realize that there's more to this smelly old man than meets the eye. Your angel might be an angel might be that dirty snot-nosed kid who's sort of, rolling in the dirt and comes up to you for a handout. Our earth angels are everywhere. Our angels are everywhere with us. And I suspect, Michael, that you have an encounter with your earth angel. How about that? Chris.
All right. This is from Christina. Hi, Rosemary. Mom and I had a consultation with you a few years ago.
Oh, gosh.
She passed on October 14th. Is she with Dad, the Englishman who kept poking you in the arm to have his turn during our consultation?
All right.
I'm hoping she is with my sister Claire, too, who she hadn't seen in 61 years.
Well, okay. I am being told by Grey Eagle, and I think I might have your mummy here as well, because I'm hearing her say, I am surrounded by my family. And she says it so joyfully. And if you came for a consultation with me, then that you know that I'm real, and you're asking this question. And I just want to reassure you, because I suspect you know that they're together, and I suspect they're all together. And I have someone here also who died very young, connecting with you. Gosh, we could sit here and do this for ages. But the answer is yes. She is with your dad. She's with everybody. She's with your sister. She. And what I'm hearing is, I am surrounded by love and joy. I hope that makes you feel good. Makes me feel good being able to tell you that. Chris.
Mark says, "Good morning, Rosemary and Grey Eagle. Question for Grey Eagle. Does the sun set in paradise and does nightfall happen? Is
Wow.
day different from night in the spirit world?" I know it's an odd question.
No, it's a great question, Mark. You always come up with those good, unusual questions. So this is from Grey Eagle. There are sunsets, there are moon glows, but there's always sunrise. It's an odd question, it's an odd answer, but there you have it. And I think you'll be able to figure it out yourself from there. Wow, I really want to go into that more. Chris, keep going.
This is from Cheryl. I
Hi,
have been helping a neighbor save her when she was in distress. I am wondering if there's some kind of spiritual connection that binds us. If I hadn't found her, she wouldn't be here.
I think, Cheryl, you know this. I think there are spiritual connections with all of us. I had someone here at the house the other day, and I'm giving him healing. And I know him, but I mostly know him through his wife, so I don't really know him that well. And I actually said to him at some point, I know that we don't know each other well. And he just looked me right in the eye and he said, oh no. He said, I know you. I feel that I know you. So there are those soul connections, spiritual connections that happen everywhere. And I loved the fact that you were able to be there for this person and to help, because I think, you know, of all of this, what I want you to learn is you can do this. You can be as strong as you need to be, not just for yourself but for others as well. You know that, but you know, just I think it's wonderful that you've had this experience, and I'm hoping it propels you forward to be more of who you are. Chris.
Lewis is on. He said, you shared with me a message from mom last week. I am finding it hard to be more selfish. How do I change that mentality? I am so used to doing for others. Please help me.
Well, though, Lewis, the first thing you have to do is you have to learn that two-letter word. Now, we all know it. We all understand it, but we have to learn not only to say it, but to mean it. And I think this is where you have your little Achilles heel. It trips you up again and again and again because you say no, but then you allow people to manipulate and the next thing you know, you're finding you're saying yes even though you want to say no. So the first thing you have to do is to understand that when you say no, before you say no, think about it. Think, do I really want to do this, or I really don't want to do this? Do I really want to, spend time with this person or not spend time with that person or what have you? And if the answer is within you a resounding no, you've got to stick to it. And here's what I say to people, all right? You've got this person on this side of you, and you really want to please this person because you love this person, you care about this person, you really want to please this person, right? But then you've got this person on this side of you, and you really want to please that person. You love this person, you care about this person, you really want to please this person. Okay, so if you say yes to this one is going to be really upset. And if you say yes to this one's going to be really upset. And you can't please them both, because when you try to please them both, you're all upset because you can't please them both. And I tell my students and I tell my patients, and I am telling you, sometimes the only way to please somebody is please yourself. Do what it is that you want to do. And you can do that in small ways. You can, I don't know, uh, every couple of weeks or something, you can buy yourself a nice box of chocolates, or you can, if you want to please yourself, go see a movie. And if you want to take someone with you, you say, I want to go see this movie. I'd love you to come with me. And if they say, no, I want to see this other movie, too bad. I'm going to see this movie. This is the movie I want to see. You've got to be tough, Lewis. You've got to be strong. And you've got to learn to say no. and mean it. You don't have to be totally and utterly selfish. That's not what we're talking about. But boy, oh boy, you're so exhausted pleasing everybody else. You're drained from, you know, always trying to compromise. And you must be a water sign, because water signs have so much trouble compromising. But not compromising, should I say? But just you've got to do it. Excuse me. I can encourage you. I can tell you to do it. I can, give you, like I just did, give you some advice. But the bottom line is, if you really want to do it, and I think you really do, then just do it. Stop being, stop allowing people to manipulate you. Just stop it. Please yourself. Now, at first, when you say no to people, they're going to be shocked, and then they're going to try and talk you around, because they've always been able to do that. Dig your heels in. Just understand that it's for your health and your benefit. You will be healthier for it. You will benefit from it. And you can always say yes to other things, but when you just simply are too tired, or you simply just don't want to do something, be selfish with yourself and just stand up and say no and mean it. And, then I do this to my daughter all the time. She asked me a question the other day, and the answer, it had nothing to do with her. What she was asking me was way too personal, had nothing to do with her. And I said no. And she said, oh, come on. She tried the manipulation, no. And she tried the manipulation again. And and at a certain point, I said to her, you can keep asking, but the answer is going to be no. And she gets it, because she knows I mean it. And that's how people need to see you. They know that when you are adamantly saying no, it's a no. Let me know how that goes. Chris.
Sanders asking, have you had any book progress? I know it's been a rough time for you, and you are loved.
No, I haven't, but I might be. I know that's very cryptic, but that's all you're getting from me at the moment.
Gary's asking, will you state the benefits of just sitting still for 10 minutes a day? Of all the meditations I've tried, your daily 10 simple minute exercise has become my favorite time of the day.
Well, you can do this. I do advise people, anyone at all, give yourself 10 minutes. If you want that 10 minutes to be that 10 minutes where you can raise your level of consciousness and lift yourself up and find yourself in that communication mode, and maybe you'll connect with those in the spirit world, that's great. But giving yourself those 10 minutes of quiet time every day is so beneficial. It calms you. It calms your inner self. It's a time when you can feed your soul. It's a time when you recognize that your soul needs to be fed. And the way we feed ourselves is to give ourselves this time and this moment of quiet. When we recognize the soul, we recognize that we are spiritual beings, and having this amazing spiritual journey. We're spiritual beings having a human experience, but I like to say, that was a Dijon quote, but I like to say, in a spiritual way, I like to add my own little piece. So what I would say to people is, find that 10 minutes in any day. Just sit. Make sure there's nothing that can disturb you. Switch your phones off. Go get away from your TV sets and your computers and all that stuff. Get away from that. Find that 10 minutes in the day when all you need to do is to just sit and be quiet. In that time, our loved ones will definitely be around us. They're around us when we're in those not so quiet moments. But then, as you're sitting there quietly, do not say a word. Do not say, are you there? Give me a sign. Do not say any of those things. Please just sit quietly for 10 minutes And you can say at the beginning, okay, mum, okay, dad, okay, sis, whoever it is you want to connect with, okay, honey bun, however, whatever you want to say, I'm here for you. I'm just going to sit here quietly, and I'd love you to be around me. I'd love you to draw close to me. But I'm just going to sit here for this 10 minutes, and this 10 minutes is for you. And then you shut up, and then you just sit quietly and you learn to listen. And if you do that on a regular basis every day, or you can do it twice a day if you want to, but if you do that on a regular basis, eventually you will start to hear. Eventually you'll start to see. Now, when I say hear, not necessarily with your ears, not necessarily seeing with your eyes, but seeing with that higher self, seeing with all of your spiritual energy, connecting with those in the spirit world, and feeling and sensing and being aware that your loved ones are close to you. And if you just sit quietly, they're able to draw close to you without any barriers being put up by you and your noise. And because we all have noise on this earth, but sit quietly and just be centered. uh, Raise your level of consciousness. Just give them that 10 minutes. It's worth it. Okay, Chris.
We're getting near time. I can give you 2 more questions.
Okay.
Susan is asking, are there any hopes of my beautiful daughter finding a wonderful husband?
Resounding yes. um However, um what she needs to do is she needs to be open, and she needs to be open to the possibilities. And I think she's already sort of getting to the point where she's so insecure within her own self in this area, this one area. It's funny because when you talk to her and you see her in action, you wouldn't think she was insecure, but I think she is in this area. I think she's a little bit nervous about giving herself up to to allowing someone into her life. But the answer is yes. Whether she grabs that opportunity or not will be her choice. I suspect that it'll come at her in a way that she won't want to refuse. So I think the answer would be yes. Chris.
Rhonda's asking, my darling Chunk, who is a cat, passed 2 weeks ago. She was the sweetest, most gentle cat. Can you see her? And I want to kiss my baby.
I can see it. I can see a cat's tail, that's for sure, moving furiously. Uh, sort of whizzing around. That doesn't mean she's angry. I just tell you that, but I would say so. Gregor is laughing at me because all I see at the moment is the tail. That doesn't mean the rest of her isn't following behind or in front. But yes, she's fine. So, and again, try the exercise of sitting quietly. You might feel when she's often jumping into your lap, but you might actually, if you sit quietly enough, you might feel her there. Okay, Chris, I think that's it. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. I know Chris is on her travels right now, so we have to, unfortunately, we have to end the show on time. We hope you've enjoyed it. I do hope you enjoyed our little musical session. From time to time, I might show you other things that my darling little boy does. He's only 10 years old. Can you believe that? Anyway, you see how proud I am of him, and also my daughter, because when we have kids who achieve like that, they don't just do it on their own, do they? And I have a friend whose grandson is an amazing baseball player. He's 8. They don't do it on their own, do they? They have all of that support behind them. Every child has its own special talent, and it's up to us as parents and grandparents to help them to bring that out. And that special talent might simply be that they just know how to love, or they just know how to just make you feel good. whatever it is, we treasure our children. We should always treasure our children. Right. So anyway, thank you, Chris, for joining us. Thank you to, especially to Grey Eagle. Without him, what would we do? And thank you to all of you once again. Please, everyone, have a very, very blessed rest of the day. Have a very, very blessed weekend. And if I don't see you before, because we are at some point going to do our cracking up and our off the cuffs and so on, if I don't see you before then, I shall see you next Thursday, which is Thanksgiving. And Greg was reminding me there will be a story from him. So, ooh, that's exciting. Anyway, until then, have a very blessed rest of the day and have a very blessed rest of the weekend, everybody. Bye bye.